I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. On Wednesday, Congressman G.K. Butterfield led a House administration hearing on the state of voting in Florida. Butterfield affirmed that the 2020 election was, quote, fair and secure. He condemned Florida for enacting legislation that will add unnecessary barriers to the ballot, despite no evidence of widespread election fraud. Let's listen in for his full opening remarks.
We're here today to continue this subcommittee's examination of voting in America and to discuss the state of voting and access to the ballot here in the state of Florida. The 2020 election was fair and secure, so says security experts at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, election experts, and Florida's own state officials. All of them have said the same thing. The 2020 election was fair and secure. However, despite no evidence whatsoever supporting the need for new election restrictions, in 2021, Florida enacted a sweeping piece of elections legislation that erects many new and unnecessary barriers to the ballot. More than 4 million Floridians cast a mail-in ballot in the last election, with no evidence of any widespread security risk or election fraud. Yet Florida enacted new restrictions, making it more difficult to cast a mail-in ballot, such as limiting access ballot drop boxes, making it more difficult to remain on the state's vote-by-mail list, and limiting the ability to provide and receive assistance for returning a ballot. These are just a few examples of the barriers enacted by Senate Bill 90. This law is the subject of ongoing litigation, with a federal judge recently ruling that several of the law's provisions are unconstitutional. Furthermore, Florida has taken the troubling step of creating a new Office of Election Crimes and Security. And I've done a lot of research on that in the last 48 hours, and that appears to be very disappointing, and I hope to hear some reasons today why it should or should not continue. But they've created an Office of Election Crimes and Security to investigate supposed election fraud and crimes, despite no evidence of either in Florida's elections. Enacting laws such as this does not bolster election integrity. Rather, it creates a serious risk for voter and election administrator intimidation, and it perpetuates the false narrative that American elections are not secure. In the wake of an election with record voter participation and in which more than 11 million Floridians cast a ballot, we should be working to increase ballot access, not erecting unnecessary barriers that could very well disenfranchise voters. These are just two examples of recent actions taken in the state. Florida's new congressional map is also the subject of ongoing litigation for arguably diluting minority voting strength. And despite the overwhelming will of Florida voters in 2018 to re-enfranchise formerly incarcerated individuals, Florida enacted legislation requiring all returning citizens to pay all the fines and fees they may owe before their right to vote is restored, erecting a terrible financial barrier to voting that many may not be able to overcome. The ability to cast a ballot free of undue burden and discrimination is the cornerstone of our participatory democracy. It should not be determined by geography, but it should be free, fair, and equitable for every American. Securing our elections should be a top priority, but it should not be used as a pretense to enact laws making it harder for voters to access the ballot. And so with all of that said, I look forward to hearing from today's witnesses about the state of voting and access to the ballot here in Florida, and continuing to work with my colleagues to ensure that we break down barriers so every voter can cast their ballot. Thank you for listening. I'm now going to recognize my friend who I see on the screen and hope he is well. I now recognize Ranking Member Style for his opening statement.